Hello, welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, bail battle. Court shuts Farotimi up as Peter Obi vows to help him, and then passports also confiscated. All right. So you said earlier that you actually made allusion to the fact that it was the court has imposed media restrictions on him, from granting interviews and all of that. Does it align with constitutional rights to freedom of expression, do you think?
What I know is that free speech does not permit you to libel others. It does not even permit you to intimidate other people. Free speech is not a license to demonize others. So when people talk about rights, they should know that these rights are not absolute. They must be exercised with caution. They must be exercised with a high sense of responsibility. So if the judge feels that allowing the guy who is before his court to continue to grant interviews, continue to abuse people in the process, it could even worsen the case and put himself in more trouble. The judge is at liberty to take the decision that he has taken. Don't grant interviews for now. You know, people also seek interlocutory injunction, restraining people from further defaming them and all that. So it's well within the power of the judge to impose such a restriction. A judge that says you can't, by even taking his passport, it means that he cannot travel unless the court allows him to. Whether for Medicare or anything, he cannot go unless the court permits him to go for Medicare. Are people going to say that that is also an infringement of his rights? You come before a court. The moment you come before a court, you know that some of your rights can be taken away. And as I said earlier, free speech is not the license to demonize people, to insult people, to bully people in the cyberspace.
If you look at it, I'm now wondering with public figures like Peter Obi intervening to meet the bail conditions, just like as you said, what impact does this have on public trust in the impartiality and fairness of the Nigerian legal system? Do you think it might have a way of influencing whatever goes on? Talking about the court process and all of that.
I do not see how this can influence the court process. Peter Obi is the head of the obedient movement. Farotimi is an integral part of the obedient movement. In fact, he boasted the other day that even in 2027, he would still support Peter Obi, although we don't know yet whether Obi will contest on the platform of the Labour Party that is in crisis now, or he will find another platform. No one knows yet, but Daly has already indicated that he's going to support Peter Obi again in 2027. So he's a loyal member of the obedient movement that Peter Obi heads. So it's not surprising that Peter Obi has decided to come through for him. Peter Obi has decided to show up for him. As far as Peter Obi is concerned, Dele should not spend any day within the four walls of the Nigerian prison. And he's doing his best to get him out of prison. He has even spoken to Afe Babalola, spoken to him. to you to ensuring that the matter is resolved amicably. But what Baba said was that it all depends on whether Farotimi is sober, whether Farotimi regrets his actions. And you can see with people like Showore attacking Peter Obi just for trying to make peace. So that's to tell you how committed Peter Obi is to this bearded individual. He sees him as somebody that he cannot abandon in his time of need. Peter Obi has not done anything wrong by speaking with Chief Afebaola, by intervening in the matter. I just don't understand why he was being attacked, on this matter. No one knows how this whole saga will end. What I know is that the public can sometimes push you down a cliff. And when you are licking your wounds, they will not show up for you. They will be somewhere else. So I just hope that the matter is resolved one way or another, because I do not think that for both parties, I do not think that seeking peace is a bad idea for both parties.
Interesting stuff. You've always advocated peace, at the end of it all, just the same way you've been doing for Nnamdi Kanu. But then I'm wondering, how can the legal system balance the enforcement of legal procedures with the protection of individual rights, in this Dele Farotimi saga, especially in high-profile cases involving activists and public commentators?
The natural thing that big people will always have advantage, always have the advantage in any situation. Let me tell you, I'm a big football lover. I know that in England, the small clubs complain that the big clubs always gain an advantage in terms of refereeing. Big clubs have big coaches who are also influential. When a small club goes against a big club, many times the decisions will go against the small club. It is like that in the judicial cycle as well. It's a David versus Goliath situation. An upset could happen, as it happened in the fight between David and Goliath. But it's not in all cases that you see such upsets happen. Big people always have their way. Most of the time they have their way. Let me not say always. Most of the time they have their way. They have the funds to hire the best lawyers. They peddle influence, all that. They are the ones who are prepared to pay even lawyers to do some of the most unethical things, like forum shopping, all that. And they have the funds to influence judges, to get judges to rule in their favor, and sometimes using the instrumentality of technicalities to decide cases. Those who believe that something needs to be done about our judiciary will point to what happened with the former Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, and the current Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. Both men shouldn't have been in the National Assembly. Both men shouldn't have been in the National Assembly. Ideally, the Supreme Court should have taken them out of the National Assembly, because the laws of our country were circumvented. The Electoral Act was circumvented to get them to get into the National Assembly. But if it was a conflict between two big men of equal size, political size, I can bet you justice will have gone to the one who deserved it. But in this case, they contested against, protested against underdogs, and the highest court in the land inexplicably gave them justice using technicalities. So when Farotimis says there's a lot of influence peddling in the Nigerian judiciary, he's saying the truth, and we can easily point at examples. Hardly do the big political heavyweights lose in court. Hardly. EFCC has won many cases against small fries, the Yahoo boys, but their win percentage against the politically exposed persons, the former governors, the big people, is very low. A very shameful record that they have against the politically exposed persons, because those ones are powerful. They can hire the best lawyers, and they can influence judges where necessary. You know, so this is the thing. It will big people will always have an edge, no doubt about it. It's not just a problem with the judiciary. It's a cultural thing. When a big man lodges a complaint against you with the police, you will be in trouble. Even if he lied against you, the police will move rapidly against you because they want to please the policeman, because they also know that by pleasing him, they get rewarded one way or another. So these things happen. Look at Speed Darlington. You can see that for libeling,
Burna Boy.
for libeling Burna Boy, Burna Boy got hold of him using the armed security there and locked him up. That's not the last time it will happen. If people think that they can sit on social media, lie against other people, abuse people, such people will use their influence to get the police, to get the army, to get the judiciary to punish such people. We seek equality, but we must also tell ourselves the truth that it's not going to be easy for us to be equal in the real sense of the word before the law. Because we are human beings. Yes, the law projects equality for all men, but it is easier said than done. It's easier said than done.
That's right. So, yeah.
Powerful people always get an advantage.
But then, Dele Farotimi seems to have a long-drawn battle, not just with Aria February, but about maybe 13 or 14 others. There is one already, Ibadan, who had already gone to court, and then the police on the other side as well. And then the judiciary as an institution, especially the Supreme Court, the apex court in the land, has also been dragged into this. So, well, you've actually advocated for peace, for truce, dialogue. But do you think that we might just be seeing the beginning of this, long-drawn battle between Mr. Dele Farotimi and the rest?
I doubt it. I doubt it. Dele is someone who is audacious and has a caustic tongue. When you watch him on TV during interviews, he throws caution to the wind.
That's right.
He opens his mouth, he talks down on people, he talks just anyhow, and he believes that he can explain away any situation. And his interviews are usually laced with a lot of insults, and he has his crowd. He is not likely to agree to apologize, for example, to the people that he has wronged. It's not likely, because his group will be telling him, no, don't apologize. And he will believe that if he apologizes, he will lose his standing before the people who are venerating him, who are praising him, who see him as a modern day hero. So he's going to um, is not going to agree to apologizing to Baba Afebaola, but there are other people, and this is where I suspect that they will wear him out,
Mm,
because how does he get to defend himself in those cases? And these cases are most likely going to be in different parts of the country. But wherever you are reading his book, as
mm,
far as the law is concerned, you can file an action in that place, because that will represent where the offense was committed. And if
mm,
those cases are not consolidated, how many cases is he going to deal with? As I said earlier, the law is the law. Dele Farotimi does not come close to Soyinka in any way. Soyinka is an accomplished writer. Farotimi is not an accomplished writer. This is his first shake of the dice. Who knows? In future, he may write many more books. He's not an accomplished writer. But
mm,
Soyinka, despite how brilliant and how brilliant he is, he was sued, and his book, The Man Died, was ordered not to be sold in our country.
mm.
You know, so I don't know how many people will eventually sue him, but he has a tough job on his hands to defend himself, to prove those allegations. If you say somebody corrupted the judiciary, compromised the judiciary, you must come up with hard facts. You must show how exactly he did it. Did he give them
Absolutely.
money? If he gave them money, how did he give them the money? Did they use the banks? What banking instrument did they use to pass money to those judges?
Mm,
And those judges, those of them who are alive, they will be watching closely and see and try to see how they can defend themselves. Some of them are alive, some of the lawyers are alive. So, and people will be pushing them to take him to court. So how does he deal with all of those cases?
mm,
When eventually they are filed. No one is saying that he didn't say the truth. But when you mention individuals, you accuse individuals of being grand master of corruption, of being the arrowheads of corruption in the judiciary, then you have to prove that indeed those are the guys fueling the corruption in the judiciary. We do not argue that, yes, the judiciary is corrupt. Even the MBS emphasize that the Nigerian judiciary is corrupt. It's just like argue amongst yourself that Nigerian journalists are corrupt. Of course, we all know that journalists in our country are corrupt. Of
that's
course, we
right.
know that the police is corrupt. Of course, we know that the customs is corrupt. But it's a different kettle of fish when you now identify individuals. For that courage to identify individuals that, in your view, represent corruption in the judiciary, promote corruption in the judiciary, they will be looking to see whether you have evidence. And if they can see the sign that you are merely huffing and puffing, that you do not have the evidence to back what you set up, there will be more litigation coming your way. So I I will say that hmm, the next few days are going to be really tough for him.
So
Uh,
we have to grab our
I wish
popcorn
him
to watch
yes.
the season
Mm,
fade. So do you think this, well,
mm.
just like you said, by wearing Dele Farotimi out, so talking about this legal tussle, do you think it will also affect? Well, he has been banned from granting media interviews, but let's assume they've actually reached a truce, maybe there's a dialogue, and everyone decides to be peaceful at the end of the day. Do you think this might impact the way Dele Farotimi goes about criticizing people, making some, in fact, some maybe invective sometimes whenever he speaks on a national TV as regards national matters.
No one knows until a man is taught an exemplary lesson. he would think that he has the liberty to open his mouth and abuse people at will until a man is taught exemplary lesson. And I can tell you, for now, I do not see the signs that he will stop talking. You know, people, newspaper houses will keep going to him, TV stations will keep going to him, and he will
That's right.
speak his mind. But on this matter, given that he's a lawyer, even though he's not a practicing lawyer,
He said, "Is
he
it
has
right?"
submitted, he has submitted to the courts, which means whatever decision that the courts take are binding on him.
That's right.
We are not in a state of nature, a Obasian state of nature, where people can do what they like. You have submitted to the courts. You have been brought before the courts. So whatever happens in those courts, whatever decisions those courts reach, you must abide by them.
That's right.
Because as a Nigerian, you are subject to the laws of our country. If you had left Nigeria, as he said earlier, that if somebody won election, he would leave the country, and he left. He wasn't the only person who boasted that he would leave, but ultimately, Nigeria is too beautiful to leave. So both of them that I know, they are still here.
Hmm.
You know, he was given an example that it was because he didn't win the election that he decided to stay. As far as
Yeah.
INEC is concerned, that is the person who won the election. And I thought
Absolutely.
at the time, I thought at the time that he made that promise, that it was because he felt that he would not be able to stand a Tinubu presidency. Now he's telling us a different story, that, oh, it's because he didn't win the election, he rigged himself into office and all that. Oh, but you didn't give us conditions that, oh, but if he rigged the election, I will
You
not go.
say
You said that if he won the election, the results point to the fact that he won the election. Elections are never perfect, you
absolutely.
know, but
Absolutely.
but politicians must abide by the outcome. So all of these things, I just believe that he has to be uh, more sedate. He has to speak more responsibly. Activists sometimes, due to human praise, activists
Yeah.
sometimes go overboard. Look at
Yeah.
VDM going to wear a police uniform
Hmm.
and saying, I will be your policeman, I will not be corrupt like the police. And eventually he was arrested. How would you go and wear a police uniform without permission? You just went, got a police uniform somewhere. So activists, as much as the people love them for what they do, they must also realize that they cannot go against the law. They are
That's
not
right.
bigger than the state, and because they are not bigger than the state, they can be arrested when they infringe on the laws of our land. So
Absolutely.
ultimately, both Baba Febaola and Dele Farotimi will learn an exemplary lesson from the court cases that are due to begin once
Right.
this bail bail is perfected.
All right. We keep close tabs on developments, regarding this issue. Then we come back here to talk about and analyze and get your, proper analysis as they all continue to unfold. But then that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade Studio, for those insightful analyses as always.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you, our viewers. Say a big thank you for the support. We wish you Merry Christmas.
That's right. And thanks to you to our audience for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.